Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of BIZ First in Focus. Today, our discussion will be focused on the small and medium scale industry here in Sri Lanka, and to do that, today we've got in our studios a little bit out of the ordinary three eminent gentlemen in the field of small and medium scale industries to discuss this. Let's get started with a little bit of an introduction. On my immediate left is Mr. Mohideen Kader. He is the immediate past president of the Chamber of Small and Medium Scale Industries. To his left is Mr. Rohan De Silva. He is the president of the Chamber of Small and Medium Scale Industries. And on his left is Mr. Deepthi Vikramasinghe. He is a member of the executive committee. A very good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
So, starting off, the small and medium scale industry, the power of the small and medium scale industry is at times underestimated by the public at large. So, I'd like to ask Mr. Rohan, as the president of the Chamber, could you give us a little bit of an overview about the importance of the small and medium scale industry here in this country and the contribution of this industry to the GDP?
Well, good evening once again. The small and medium industry is the industry which really helps the growth of the economy of this country. It contributes nearly 70% of the GDP, and it employs nearly 45% of the employment. So that itself shows how big the small and medium industry, even though the name doesn't apply to that.
Mm-hmm. How big it is.
How big it is.
So when it comes to the ambit of everybody that falls under small and medium scale industries, do they have to be registered, unregistered? How formal is the sector?
Well, when you talk of the formality, we as a chamber, we serve anybody who falls under the small and medium industry cadre.
So, Mr. Mohideen Kader, as the immediate past president, I'd like to direct this next question to you. Since you've been working in the chamber as the president for the immediate past president, what are the main issues that the small and medium scale industries face in general perspective?
Generally, they have been very much affected by the finances available to them, particularly because in the last 3 years, the economy has not been growing sufficiently. And the impact was felt by the SME, who form the backbone of the economy and drive most sectors across all segments.
Okay.
So that was the background to it this year. And when the last budget announced the Enterprise Sri Lanka program, I think it breathed some relief and gave hope to the sector. But unfortunately, the situation has which followed with also the power interruptions and the local political and social situation has caused very much impacts on the sector, which is now bringing it down. And our concern is that being the main driver of the economy, that it can bring down the national economy unless we address the issues affecting them seriously at this moment.
So it's quite clear that the SME sector has gone through quite a rough patch. But speaking of the issues that the SME sector has faced following the April 21st attacks, those unfortunate incidents, how badly has it aggravated the situation?
The small and medium sector is one of the feeder industries to most of the key segments like tourism, export industry. They have backward linkages, and they also form the part of the supply chain. So both from industry, subcontracting of and also providing services to these sectors, it plays a vital role. So with those major sectors like tourism being seriously affected, there is a big impact on the SME sector.
Mr. Deepthi Vikramasinghe, I'd like to direct this next question to you. With you as the Chamber of Small and Medium Scale Industries, you work very closely with the direct people who are engaged in this industry. What is their take on the situation like? What is their response when you go and ask them how things are going?
Yes, actually they are very helpful to us, especially this juncture, because we are seriously affected after this incident, and especially we can't serve our bank loans, and we definitely need help from our bankers to even a moratorium or interest reduction like that, and we are now negotiating on that with the government.
So how far has the negotiations gone?
We have already started, but still no response as certain, but we have to continue it.
So have you all sat down? Have you all been given an opportunity to discuss these issues with officials?
Yes.
How far up the chain have you held the discussions with?
I think we had with the Finance Ministry, no?
Finance Ministry. And His Excellency, the President, he himself gave us a meeting.
Right.
And the things are in process.
Follow-up has been there from the relevant line ministries, and we are having ongoing discussions. We have been asked to submit specific cases. So we are in the process of collecting information and coordinating with the different segments of the SME sector.
Right. So Mr. Mohideen Khada, you know that the government has already announced a moratorium on loans for the tourism sector. They've also announced a package of reliefs to especially uplift the tourism sector. Why is there a delay in issuing a package to uplift the small and medium scale industries, which, as you rightly pointed out, is the backbone of Sri Lanka's economy?
I think the availability of information was one reason, because immediately after the aftermath, the response forthcoming from the SMEs was not easy to collect, because it's far and wide and covering the whole island. And also, I think from the government side, to be fair, it's quite a big impact on the tourism industry. So given the economic situation we are going through, whether they can also extend to SME is something they need to look at. But what I can suggest is, even if a special line of credit is negotiated with some of the international banking organizations like ADB or even the World Bank, to overcome the situation, I think the SME sector needs a fillip. It needs a boost at this point to avoid a major breakdown.
But Mr. Khada, don't you think that delays in providing concessions and delays in addressing this issue is just going to aggravate the situation?
Certainly. I think what we can do is to ask the local banks who are servicing the sector to at least give us a grace period of 3 to 6 months.
So this is unofficially, without the government announcing it?
Yes.
For the banks to implement it as an internal measure of the bank?
True. As a measure of goodwill, because ultimately all this will end up as non-performing loans for banks, and that can seriously affect them as well.
So there you have it. We will continue this discussion after a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Biz First in Focus. Welcome back. You're watching Biz First in Focus. Today's discussion is focused on the small and medium scale industry here in Sri Lanka, and as pointed by the gentleman present here on our show today, the guests of our show, it is of course the backbone of Sri Lanka's economy. Now, Mr. Rohan De Silva, I'd like to ask you this question. Does the Chamber have any plan to make this sector, to help this sector bounce back to its former glory following the April 21st attacks?
Yes, of course. We have done many plans. And what we want to do is, we are very positive that we will definitely come around. And the government is also backing us to a certain extent, because they also know the backbone of the country is small and SME sector. And they are also doing their very best, and even with the enterprise Lanka is also working on it. And but only thing, we need to sort of work out a mechanism where it will reach the parties concerned, mainly the SME sector, because those loans are given at a very nominal rate, and that will not affect our industrialists very much. So they will have the loan, they will make use of it, they will develop their industries, and through that they will help the economy of the country.
Now, as members of the Chamber of Small and Medium Scale Industries, you know very well that there is always going to be a risk in conducting these industries and moving forward. Just because the security situation in the country is turning towards a favorable side now does not mean that that risk factor is ever going to go away. So before the April 21st attacks, did the Chamber have any contingency plan in place for a risk of this sort? And if so, what was it? I'd like to direct this question to the past President, Mr. Mohideen Khad, if you could answer the question.
Of course, the usual insurance covers and business disruption policies we have recommended.
Okay.
We also have a subcommittee in the Chamber headed by a senior vice president, facilitated by 2 external consultants who act as a cell to facilitate SMEs in restructuring their businesses, providing facilitating with banks to mediate and bring restructure their bank facilities and help them through difficult times. We have in fact got over 100 applications before the incident, for which we were trying to take up with the banks on this enterprise Sri Lanka. Now the task has become even greater.
Harder.
Of course, we will pursue and we will facilitate the SMEs and see them through this difficult time. I'm sure the government has realized the importance of it and they are doing their best. But I think the problem is a bit too big at the moment. But with time, I think we should be able to get over this situation.
So immediately after the incident, following the incident, did these contingency plans or these fail-safes, did they kick in, and has there been a positive effect of them on the SME industry?
Yes, we met several times. We were called to the President's Secretariat for the Subcommittee on Economic Affairs. It was followed up by Ministry of Development Strategies. Then there was a meeting at the EDB addressing the export sector. And down the line, the various business associations are dealing with segments, different segments of the industry. So I think there is sufficient mechanism, but we have not got down to the real crux of it and how to get about solving the problem, which involves banks and the finance ministry and sometimes policy. I'm sure with the mechanism in place and the dialogue continuing, we should be able to work out a mechanism to sort it out.
Mr. Vikramasinghe, I'd like to direct this next question out to you. We were speaking about the Enterprise Lanka program. How far has that been beneficial to the SMEs industry?
Actually, that is, I think, mostly for the startup businesses.
Yes.
But SMEs, we are already in the business.
Okay.
And we need some concessional loan schemes for to survive us, because most of the commercial bank rates are very high. There are no special schemes for SMEs or small businessmen. So at least there should be some schemes to facilitate us.
So speaking about the national strategy for small and medium scale business sectors, how has that contributed to the development of SMEs?
Up to now, actually, there are no such schemes.
There are no such schemes?
Yes.
So, do you believe that the government has not paid enough attention to the SME sector in the country?
What I feel is there should be more attention to special bank loan schemes for existing businesses.
So, is the Chamber looking at only special banking loan schemes? What are the other possible solutions to the issues that you face?
Other thing is developing the local industry. We need participation of our counterparts also, like promoting local industry within the country rather than promoting imported products. That's also one reason we are local industry affected that way also.
So through the promotion of imported products?
Yes.
Yeah, there has to be, I think, a certain degree of protection afforded to the local industry, particularly in this crisis, now that they faced a setback. There are FTAs and agreements signed with other countries where we have been told that the cess will be removed over a period of 3 to 5 years. But now with this kind of situation where the SMEs are badly affected, they may need some more time to come out of this situation. And also facilitation by way of other support through training, market awareness, access to international markets to help them to move on, not only to depend on the local domestic industry, would be necessary. Having said that, I think the government has paid attention to the SME sector. There is a SME development policy in place.
Okay.
They have identified NEDA, this National Enterprise Development Authority, as the focal point for SME development.
Right.
But what needs to be done is a package of deliverables which can take this policy through for implementation.
So the policy is in place, but you're saying the practical application is still lagging back.
Getting the relevant line ministries and organizations moving to deliver the results for achieving the policies and the objectives.
Also, in addition to that, what happens is most of the small and medium scale industrialists are not up to that standard.
They are not informed enough?
Not that. What happens is their educational standard,
okay.
the knowledge, not the education standard, the knowledge what they have is not enough.
Okay.
So what we do is now, even through the Enterprise Lanka project, we have formed a system where we educate most of the industrialists.
Okay.
So that's why, as Mr. Moidin said, we have got about 100 applications, which we wanted to launch a small training program for them.
Okay.
With the help of the local banks, and it was in progress when this debacle took place.
Right.
So by now we would have really got off the first batch of it. So once the first batch goes through it, so then the word will go around.
Right. So it's a matter of continuation afterwards.
Continuation afterwards.
Right. So besides this program of offering training, what else is the Chamber looking at?
Industrial Excellence Award. The Industrial Excellence Award.
Industrial Excellence Award. Now we have, every year we have a Industrial Excellence Award.
Right.
It's the flagship event of the Chamber every year.
Right.
We identify entrepreneurs with special emphasis on startups, small women entrepreneurs, innovative products, special high quality products, and also the best winners from each province.
Island-wide.
We give them a bronze award.
Right.
And then at national level, we have the bronze, silver, gold, and platinum awards annually. So in this process, we identify entrepreneurs at provincial level and bring them up to national level, and then move them on for international awards, which are done by EDB and other organizations.
So these programs have been in place for quite some time now.
The 15th year we're having the Industrial Excellence Awards.
Right. So we will continue this discussion after a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching BIZ First in Focus. Welcome back. You're watching BIZ First in Focus. My next question I'd like to direct to Mr. Rohan De Silva. If you could just give us an overview of exactly how much the SME sector is linked to the other sectors in the country, because like I said at the start of the program, people tend to misjudge or not quite completely comprehend the importance of the SME sector here in the country.
When you talk of the SME sector, any small and medium scale industrialist or any producer falls into that category.
Right.
So take for an example.
So registered or unregistered?
Registered or unregistered. So that is a legal entity.
Okay.
Right? So when it comes to a situation, say like what happened, take for an example a hotel. When the hotel got affected, now they will stop buying all the food items, etc., etc., etc. What will happen to the farmer? What will happen to the person who was supplying other supplies like curtains, drapery, furniture, transportation, everything will get affected. So all those people will get affected.
Their employees, their salaries.
Their employees, their salaries, all that will come to a situation where you are stuck.
And ultimately, it will impact consumer spending because their, day-to-day incomes are deprived, and that will have an effect, knock-on effect on the national economy.
So it's got a ripple effect across the economy.
So the SME sector need a boost. Boost up, then everybody will fall in line. So it will not happen in the near future, but it will take some time.
But how long can the SME sector, continue to function like this in the current state that it is in?
For example, the tourism sector, we would expect it 3 to 6 months to turn around.
Okay.
And maybe in the next tourist season that we will really see the impact of the improvements. So until such time, the SME sectors will sustain themselves. So unless we give them a safety net or a grace period during this time, it may affect badly some of the segments.
Considering a worst case scenario, in the view of the Chamber, how long do you think that the SME sector can continue to sustain themselves in the current state?
As I said, 3 to 6 months in this situation.
What would happen after that?
Chamber is also looking at other opportunities to try and help them to move to export markets, alternate opportunity, even access network with other organizations overseas where they can find markets for their products or services.
Right.
But these are all interim measures, but overall they need to be sustained over a period of 6 months to be able to function when the national economy takes off.
Right. Also, I'd like to direct your attention to the fact that certain areas in the north and east are also facing a massive drought right now as we speak. And the issues just keep on coming, and it's important that we do not just focus on one single issue, which has been the case in Sri Lanka. Here in Sri Lanka, we focus on one issue and forget everything else. Is the Chambers working towards addressing other issues such as natural disasters that may affect the SME sector in the future?
To a greater extent, yes. But those are things that cannot be predicted.
Yes.
But only thing, if we can get our industrialists geared, then of course they can face a situation. Even if you take the recent incident, still most of the industrialists are surviving. But they are finding it difficult. They are going through a lot of hardships, but still they are surviving. They're sailing their boat.
Most of our members have gone beyond their duty of care to extend support to affected families and reach out. And they've also spelled out scholarship schemes for families of the victims. So these are type of social responsibility programs that they extend support to. Even in the drought areas where they have given some kind of package of relief to those people and find ways of bringing in alternate sources of income like outsourcing production from other industries have been looked at.
And also we are in the process of looking at other avenues like he said, the export market. So we are trying to get into Bangladesh.
Right.
We are trying to get into South Africa. There are so many opportunities what we get. So what we do is we as members of the EXCO of the Chamber, we attend all those seminars and we try and transfer all those information to our industrialists so that they can get the benefit out of it.
And penetrate those markets.
Network with the business delegations that come, and then where there is a target market that we can help, then we put the relevant segment or sector in touch and facilitate that segment.
Mr. Rohan, we're in the final few minutes of our show today. If you could, give us in a nutshell the proposals of the Chamber for Small and Medium Scale Industries that you can put forward that will help this industry bounce back into its former glory, so that the leaders of our country, of course, could make note of it.
Yes, why not? We'll do it collectively.
Okay.
One is, say, if the government can help us out by giving us a relief package, like giving us a grace period.
Much like the tourism industry.
And rescheduling.
And reschedule almost all the loans. Right? Then statutory payments, all that, because those are the things which are really affecting
payment of utilities.
Payment of utilities, all that are affecting the SMEs. So, because it is
and the continued provision of these utilities such as power and water.
Most of them are finding it very difficult even to pay their salaries and keep the employees.
Even the telephone bills.
So if we stop that, then there will be an impact on the employment market.
Right.
Not only that, even when an industrialist fails to pay your dues, the utilities, what happens is, okay, if it is a telephone line, can be disconnected. But what will happen to that service providing company? So they also will get the impact.
At the same time, the business will affect when the telephone is not working.
Yeah, everybody will be affected.
Yes.
So it's a chain reaction. What happens is we have to.
So from a national perspective, I think we have to understand and work together.
So intervention is of utmost importance at the current juncture.
And dialogue to be able to take up the issues with the relevant authorities and continue to monitor it till we come out of the crisis.
So there you have it. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Mohiuddin Kader, Mr. Rohan De Silva, and Mr. Deepthi Vikramasinghe for joining us on our show this evening. Unfortunately, our time period has come to an end. Thank you very much to our viewers out there for tuning in. I'm Charlene Benedict, and this was Biz First in Focus. Until we meet next time, take care and God bless.